Thank you. And welcome to our audience to the last workshop of today. There will be 3 more tomorrow. I am STD Noor. I'm the artistic director of the festival. With me is Elliot Funmaker, the leader of the Ho-Chunk Wisconsin Dells Singers and Dance Troupe. The Madison World Music Festival, as well as the Wisconsin Union and the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Madison, are all on Ho-Chunk ancestral lands. We're honored to have Elliot Funmaker join us for this workshop. Thank you for joining us. What was that song?
That song is for all of our Native people that come over from all different parts of the United States. It's a welcome song.
Ah, wonderful. And you titled the workshop Living in Two Worlds. What does that mean? What did you mean when you put that?
Living in two worlds with the Ho-Chunk Nation says a lot. In the beginning, the people, the Ho-Chunk Nation, the creator, God, Ma'ona, put the Ho-Chunk people here on earth at a sacred place called Mogashush. Mogashush is located up by Green Bay. In Ho-Chunk, it means red banks. It's our origin story, as a lot of the people, historians, like to place us in different areas. This is our origin story where we've been placed by the creator, God, Ma'ona. And so it starts there. As we go down in history, as we move along, our territory was vast and we had plenty of people back in the day. And so everyday life, everybody has their own duties to do. And so this encompasses a lot of taking care of the tribe, hunting, feeding, protecting. And so these duties have been passed down from generation to generation. In order for the Ho-Chunk Nation to survive, we had to have these different duties bestowed upon each one of our tribal members. Each one of them had a duty to do. And so as we do this duty, we come to this world where the white man had come in to try to civilize. And so as we try to live in two worlds, we must maintain our tribal sovereignty and also our customs, and then also be a part of the white man world. And so as we do that, we have to live in two different worlds. So we have our duties as a tribal member, and then also as a citizen of the United States, we have to do different duties such as go to school, go to work, pay our taxes, and go into the service and become good citizens, also being part of the Ho-Chunk Nation.
So how has that worked for the Ho-Chunk Nation and for you personally?
Personally, it's been quite a ride. There's not enough hours of the day to take care of both things. And as I go and do these presentations, it's very time demanding on both ends because you have to work, and then you also want to do presentations to inform the public of different aspects of our culture.
And for the nation, for the Ho-Chunk Nation, has it worked to live in both these worlds, or has it been difficult and maybe at times not very good, or maybe very good?
Well, we don't have a choice of choosing. In order to survive, we have to do both in order to survive. And so as one duty begins, another one ends, And we have to keep right on going because the world doesn't stop. And we have to have our jobs, we have to eat, we have to be educated, we have to do our ceremonies, religious ceremonies, our social ceremonies. We also have a family kinship that we have to also abide by. And we also are run by a traditional tribal chief.
So how is your daily life different from mine? What do you do as a Ho-Chunk that most white people in this country don't? Or maybe most people, period.
Well, a lot of times when I begin the day, I think about all of our relatives that has been before us. And one of the things that they would do, they would talk to the Creator as soon as they would get up, and they would ask for guidance through the day. And also, we have to remember, you have to check around the surroundings to make sure that everything is okay. And then you have to remember, if you have a ceremony to do, or if you have to call up somebody or let somebody know that you're going to be helping out in some kind of ceremony or doings. And so that's before you even get your first cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And so, and other people, I suppose they do the same thing, but we do also in a different fashion, I guess.
For example?
For example, like we try to make sure that we're always on top of certain things. Okay, let's say that your tribal traditional ways regarding to what season it is, you get ready for that particular feast you have, and so you start gathering stuff. And so you start getting ready for, like, you getting your Indian corn dried, or you dry your squash, you get the food ready, you get your tobacco ready, you get your, like if you have to pass on gifts such as moccasins, leggings, maybe a shirt, or you have to start getting that ready. And then you have to make, so you got to take inventory of that first, and then maybe go to work.
Mm-hmm. So that's the two worlds, really.
That's really two worlds, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So your name is Elliot Funmaker. That's kind of a fun name. Tell me about the name and about the generations before you that had that same name. How did you all get it, and what is it about?
All right. So the name Funmaker was a name that was given to my people back when the government came in and overtook the Ho-Chunks. And then they had government people, translators, translate the name. And so when the name came for translating for Funmaker, it was King of the Grizzlies. That was my great-great-grandfather's name. And the guy who was in charge of interpreting that looked at my grandfather and said that, oh no, he says, you don't look like no King of the Grizzlies. As a matter of fact, you look like a baby cub. And so, and he kind of make me laugh. So, and that's how we got the name Funmaker.
Uh-huh.
And so my English name, Elliot, my father, Ken Funmaker, he was an ironworker, and he was working in Chicago, Illinois on a skyscraper. And as he was working, he fell off the building. Oh. And he fell 2 stories, and as he was falling, a guy grabbed him and pulled him up on a deck after falling two floors. And then he pulled him on a deck, and my father asked him, he says, what can I do for you? You just saved my life. And the guy who saved him didn't say nothing. He didn't think anything of it. And so my dad was kept pestering him about, I owe you. And then finally, that guy says, okay, Kenny, he says, what you can do for me is name your next son Elliot. And he goes, why Elliot? And he goes, because my favorite TV show on TV is Elliot Ness and the Untouchables. And so I was named Elliot, and then my father asked him, what about a middle name? And he said, F that, he don't need one. So that's how I got my name, Elliot Funmaker.
I don't have a middle name either.
I don't have a middle name, no.
Yeah. So the Funmaker, I assumed until just now that it was about being an artist and about entertaining other people, making fun, which you do. You make fun, but you also are doing some serious stuff, I think. But so Funmaker is not about that. It's not about what you do.
The name Funmaker is in reference to the Bear Clan. The Bear Clan is one of the 12 clans in the Ho-Chunk Nation. The Bear Clan is in charge of the land. We have 12 clans, and our traditional tribal chief is the honcho. And you have to be born into it. You can't be picked by it. And so we help the chief out. We're the policemen, we're the secret guards, we're everything rolled into one. We would be right next to him, and we was his right arm on all decisions. So he told us what to do, we would do it. And so we're the policemen of the tribe. And so that is one of our duties of the tribe. And so as the leader on land, we're often asked to bless grounds when you dig into the ground. So when you dig into the ground, you need to get a hold of the Bear Clan so we can bless the event.
Okay, so we were talking about your father, and I think you have a song that your father wrote. Do you want to talk about that and maybe play it for us?
Sure. My father, Ken Funmaker Sr., he wrote a lot of songs for the Ho-Chunk Nation, and we learned these songs from him. And the song I'm going to sing is about a native warrior who was one of our most decorated veterans during the Korean War. His name was Corporal Mitchell Red Cloud, and he was given a Congressional Medal of Honor for his deeds during a battle where he tied himself to a tree, and he saved over 300 lives at that particular before getting killed. And so my father is related to the Red Clouds, and the old lady Red Cloud, Nellie, he felt so bad for her that she asked him to make a song for him. And so the song is in his honor, and pretty much talks about his name, it talks about what happened over in Korea, and it's very one of our most decorated veteran songs. The Ho-Chunk Nation is a very warrior society, and back in the heyday, we were one of the fiercest tribes, and so when it comes to war, we're pretty much naturals at it, and so surviving this long, you had to have it together. And so due to the time restraints we have, I'll sing the song for you guys, and just think of it as doing his duty, talking about him. And so at this time, I'm going to be singing the Mitchell Red Cloud song. Shade cha agecha hanina gide na yo he waka jide no de hanina hele na yo he waka jide no de hanina gide no de hanina gide hey honey na gide no hey na gide no hey honey na gide no hey hallelujah gide no hey hallelujah gide no hey hallelujah gide no hey hallelujah gide no hey honey na gide no hey honey na gide no Maki shab shade cha akecha honey na gide no waka jide no de honey na hele no waka jide no de honey na gide no de honey na gide no de honey na gide no
That's beautiful. Thank you. So I have maybe a difficult question for you. You said earlier when the government came and took the Ho-Chunks, if you can explain exactly what you mean by that, but I'm assuming that you're talking about removing people from their land and or taking the kids away to the residential schools. You tell me, I'm just making assumptions here. So that is part of your history or the history of some native peoples here and really all over the world. Why do so many native people go to the military and become such good warriors in the service of the United States? So, like I said, maybe a difficult question, answer as you feel.
No, it's just going to take some time answering it. So, as I was explaining to you the history of the Ho-Chunk Nation, as we started to be removed from our homelands here. So our homelands back in the day was from Green Bay over to Minneapolis, down to Prairie du Chien, Starved Rock, Chicago, and then back up to Green Bay. That was all Ho-Chunk territory. And our stories go back to where our boundaries was even further yet. Some even say that we was all the way over to Ohio and down to Missouri, down to St. Louis. That's a pretty vast country to be in charge of. And so in order to do all that, you had to have it together. Now, my father has told me that the Ho-Chunk people have lived through 2 ice ages. Now that's saying a lot, even living through one. And so we don't get to be here without a lot of stuff happening, such as surviving. And so as we survive, we know how to make war, we know how to make peace, we know how to make a lot of children. And so as we do this, it's very important that we have to go along what's going on in order for us to survive. And so we had over 12 removals from our homeland here. And during these removals, we always came back. And there's a reservation over in Winnebago, Nebraska, which is south of Sioux City. And over there, the Omaha Nation at that time, we were called the Winnebagos, the guys who own all the campers. I'm just kidding. We don't own nothing there. They took our name and used our name. And so there's a reservation over there. But the Ho-Chunk people, we do not have a reservation. All the land that we got, we had to buy back. So they took all this land from us. And so when they did all of this, the government people would come into our villages and they would take all the kids and they would send them to the schools. And whoever stayed behind, they went and hid in the woods. And so we have a lot of these stories going on. And so when they went to these schools, they were treated pretty badly, but they survived, you know. And my father went to one of these schools up there in up northern Wisconsin. And he used to tell me about they used to wash their mouth out with soap for speaking Ho-Chunk, and you couldn't do anything that any tribal customs. And so we have a pretty bad taste in our mouth when it comes to the Catholic reformatory church and stuff like that. So traditional Ho-Chunk ways is the way that I was raised. And so there's several other, like the Peyote Native American Church, and we have the different Baptists and Catholics that the Ho-Chunk people go to. And so, again, we go back to living in 2 worlds, you know. And so we also have to be part traditional in order to keep our ways. And so when you say that guys were sent off to school, well, they had to go. And so when they did this, a lot of our people lost our language. But in the other way you're looking at it is that now that happened, a lot of our people now are becoming doctors. We even have a Congress lady in Congress now. And so we have been making pretty good strides in our advanced living. So we are moving right along, but there's a payoff on that. We have very not too many fluent speakers anymore, and so every day that an elder dies, we're losing part of the Ho-Chunk. But my father, Ken, he made the Ho-Chunk language program. And that was one of his babies, I guess. And so I think that's about all I can talk about right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. So, sorry. I think we're probably getting close to the end of our workshop. Tell us about what you're wearing and what we might see later when the whole band is here. I think you're 8 people.
The Ho-Chunk Nation. I'm a part of. Let's see. My grandfather was a performer. My dad was a performer. I'm a performer, and then my nephew's going to be here, and his kids are going to be performing. So, that's 5 generations right there, and so. What I have on right now, on top of my head, is an Otter Turbine. And the Otter Turbine is the appropriate headgear for a veteran of the Ho-Chunk Nation. And so I was a part of the United States Marine Corps, URA. And so back in the day, if you would see a person wearing this, you would know that this person was a warrior. And so that's what I'm wearing. I got some earrings on, and then I got a shirt my wife got for me at a native powwow up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, or Wausau, Wisconsin. And then I have a bear claw necklace that I got in Salamanca, New York. And then got some jewelry on here that we bought at a powwow. And then I have a belt on that's a traditional yarn belt. And so I'm kind of half dressed for powwow. But right now I'm just kind of talking, so I kind of just did the top part.
Just half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when our performers come to later on, and our show starts at 7 o'clock, and so we're gonna have three traditional male dancers. It's gonna be Northern Plains and 1 woodland, and then we're gonna have a grass dancer, and then we're gonna have 2 singers. And then I'm going to be talking. Then my wife is going to be here. She'll be dancing Ho-Chunk applique, Ho-Chunk women applique. And then my granddaughter's going to be here. She's going to be doing women's fancy. And she's also going to be performing the hoop dance. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that when we get to that point. So you're going to have to come back to watch our performance at 7 o'clock. And so as we do these native performances, we talk about, our native gear. A lot of times you hear, oh, that's a beautiful costume, and we don't like the term because this is what we would wear when we were walking around our village. And so, back in the day, we used to have warriors. They used to go out and go do their thing. And when they come back, before they would come back to the village, they would stop and they would clean up and they would put their best regalia on. And they would have a drum and they would sing and they would come on in. And all the stuff that they had, their best stuff, they would come in there and they'd parade dance on in. And so this is the way of the Ho-Chunk. And there is a lot of different tribes throughout the world that have different customs. We're just showing you part of our customs. And again, as I said, there's 12 different clans. There's also lots of families out there that do stuff different than what I do. And so what I'm saying is that everybody has their own way of doing things, and I'm not here to judge anybody, and tell them this or tell them that, this is wrong, that's right. I've been taught a certain way, that's the way I do it. I can only speak for myself. Yeah. So as we get further into our performance tonight, you'll be able to see it more than I can talk about it.
And I have to say, your band have played for us before, and as I remember, it's a very beautiful performance, and also very pleasing to the ear. So I do hope that people come back at 7 to watch all of you and hear you. How has your nation done now since the pandemic? How are you all doing?
Well, financially, we're taking a hit just like everybody else. I was employed for 15 years. They had to let me go. So I'm collecting unemployment right now. In where I worked at was the Ho Chunk Casino, which is located in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. And we had over 1,500 employees over there. And now I believe there's 400 or 500 back to work. And so we're one of the last departments. I work in the transportation department. And so that's work under valet and the shuttle buses. And so each department is taking a hit, and our essential workers do get to go back. But it's pretty devastating for everybody, especially without the health coverage. As long as we can go to our place of, we got a house of wellness, as long as we can go over there, you know, as long as you're an enrolled member, you are able to get some help over there. But if you had to go to the hospital or emergency room, you would have to pay out of pocket for that. So these things are pretty devastating, you know, through the COVID-19.
Yeah. May it be gone, hey? Before I ask you to sing one more song, what's on your turban? It doesn't look like a bear. What is it, that animal?
This particular turban that I'm wearing, there was a gentleman, Willie Shagoni Jr., and he asked me to make this for him. And he was a Wolf Clan, and I made it for him. And he got to use it several times, and then he wanted me to add the feathers on. And when I had the feathers, I was putting them on is when he passed. And so I've been just waiting for one of the family to talk about this particular turban. So me and my wife, we spent probably 3 months making this turban. So it's a German silver wolf.
Uh-huh. All right. So you have one more song for us, don't you? Tell us what it is.
So this particular song that I'm gonna sing is called a love song. And before there was a drum, before there was a hand drum, a lot of the communication used to be by a flute. And so the young men of the tribe used to play these flutes, and they would take their flute and they would get their reed blanket out, and they would put it out by the wigwam. We didn't have teepees, we had wigwams. And they would start playing the flute. And they were courting these women. And so if a woman came out and poured water on your head, I guess you know the answer to that.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's
I'm not
a
sure.
no.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
And hit the road. But if you played the flute and she came out and sat next to you, maybe held your hand, or then the romance was starting. And so the song that I'm going to be singing, I do not have a flute. And back then, when a guy didn't have a flute, he would just sing. And so this song is just a vocal song. And it's the meaning is say good things about me. And there was a guy, he was courting this woman, and she had to move. And then as she was leaving, he was yelling at her, "When you get to where you're going, say good things about me." So that's what the song's about.
All right.
Niye honagaje, niye honagaje, niye honagaje, honagaje, hora chabui chara chitke, ehaya pinkshi honagaje, niye honagaje, honagaje, ne honagaje, niye honagaje, niye honagaje, honagaje, wara chapu chara chitke, ehaya pikshi honagaje, niye honagaje, honagaje. Oh.
Lovely. So, what you were telling about courting, right? If you play beautifully, a woman might come and sit next to you, hold your hand, and you may become a couple. Made me think of birds, right? The male bird singing, and if he sings beautifully, he'll find a mate. And which took me to the thought of what are the customs, would you say, of the Ho-Chunk that have been really influenced by nature and by what you've seen nature do?
Well, as I stated that there are 12 clans in the Ho-Chunk Nation. The upper clans is the ones that rule. Okay, you have your Sky Clan, your Thunder Clan, and then you have the Pigeon Clan, the Eagle Clan. And then on the bottom, you have your Wolf, you have your Deer Clan, you have your Bear Clan, you have your Snake Clan, you have several other ones too. And then you have the water spirits. And so all of these play a part. And so for me, I tend to stay with the bear. And so when I wear my stuff, I wear a lot of stuff honoring the bear. And so as you see some of these other Ho-Chunk people or other native people, you'll see they call it their spirit animals. And so, like, when you're first born, you have a soft spot on the top of your head. When that soft spot gets covered up, you get named. Then you're old enough to know, and you bond with people. And so when you get your name, you start to associate things. You start to understand how things are going. And you'll have these different animals or different things that will come, and different spirits will come and visit you. And this will be a part of about who you are. And so these things are, the traditional people, they really take a hold of these things. And all Native people, they all have different ways of honoring these special creatures. Without them, we wouldn't be here. And so we honor them all the time when we have our doings, and and so these animals that we talk about, they're very special to each and every one of us. And so when the Ho-Chunk people kind of get to certain parts of their ancestry, they have to try to involve that with their being. Whatever their name is, whatever their clan is, they have to put that in there with them.
And how does that work in society as a whole? If you're a bear and another one is a wolf and someone is an eagle, what kind of... let me go back to an earlier question. How is that different from the way white people live in a society?
Well, I can't speak too much for the non-natives because they're very complex. They have different customs, and throughout this beautiful world of ours, there's a lot of different ways of doing things. And so I can't go into talking about how these other guys are because I ain't part of that. But from what I can see, they, when I do my presentations, I always ask everybody out there, where are you from? Who are you? And it's very important that you know who you are. And there's a lot of people that don't know that. And so I always ask them, you know what, try to find out, because that's who you are. And so when they do find out, they say, oh, I'm from Ireland. Oh, well, that's great, I read about history about a lot of different cultures all over the world. And so I believe that each one of these non-natives, they have their own way of finding out who they belong to or where they belong to. And when you're in America, everything gets melted together. I ask people, well, what are you? Oh, I'm American. You are? I was just asking if you're Czechoslovakian or are you Asian? And so these things are important to know where you come from. And if you don't, that's okay too, The Ho-Chunk people, even though the warrior society of us, if we took prisoners, after a certain while, we'd let them go, but they would never leave. They got absorbed into the tribe. And so these things happen all the time. And so I think that happens a lot throughout the world. And a lot of these people don't want to go back. They want to stay with the people that took care of them. And I think that's very important. Yeah,
that says something. Well, we're at the end of our time. Anything else you want to say that I didn't ask you about to the people who are watching us?
Well, I just wanted to tell you that today's a very special day to be here in Madison. Madison is a very special place for the Ho-Chunk Nation. The native name for this town is Dejop, and that means the Four Lakes. And this particular site over here is where a lot of our chiefs, the site of the capital here is where the traditional chief used to camp. And so when they took over this part of the land, they picked that spot because it's a special spot. And so I'm very proud to be here, and I'm very glad that you asked us to be here, and that the Madison World Music Festival is very special. And I'm glad that the Wisconsin Dells Singers and Dance Troupe, my members here, are proud to be here today and to be a part of it. And it's such an honor to be on campus here with these this beautiful theater that we work here, and all the workers that are here, they could have been out, you know, drinking beer or doing good stuff, but they're here, you know, and that means a lot. That means a lot to me, and I think that's very important for everybody around the world to embrace that, because through all of our hardships that are going on right now, music is the way to help the soul. And it really, and you know, I always kid my wife all the time. You know, we're in a car, and she likes a song, and she's singing away. And you know, I said, "Hey, sing that song." She goes, "Oh, I can't sing." I said, "Well, you can hum." And so, right there, you can sing. You're a part. You know, if you're sitting in your car, you're humming, you're singing. You're a part of the music that's going on. So I think that's very important.
Well, I want to join you in thanking all the people who are helping us create and go through this Madison World Music Festival. I invite our audience to join us again at 7 p.m. when the Wisconsin Dells Singers and Dance Troupe will be doing their performance. Right after them, we'll have Oime and then Natu Kamara. I hope you saw all of them in their workshops, but if not, join us anyway. It'll be a fantastic evening. I'm STD Noor. We'll be back at 7. Thank you so much, Elliot Fanmaker.